Naming every room and numbering every apartment in your Revit project by hand takes hours. This plugin names all your rooms, numbers each apartment, and calculates their areas automatically in seconds. Now let's move on to the automatic room naming plugin. First, we open the ArchPlug tab and click on the Settings button. Under Account, we enter the email we registered with and click Save. Once the status shows connected, all of our activated plugins are ready to use. The scripts folder just below is only needed for the fast script launcher, so we can skip it. Installed plugins lists every plugin we own, along with its version, and flags any plugin that has a newer version available online. It also shows each plugin's license type, whether it is monthly or lifetime. And finally, the theme option lets us switch the plugin dialogues between light and dark. We launch the plugin and the interface opens up. The very first step is to place the rooms onto the floor plan, which we do simply by clicking the Place Rooms button. As soon as we do that, the plugin automatically detects each individual room on the floor plan, and it places a tag inside every one of them, without any manual work. Each of these tags displays the key information, the name of the room together with its calculated floor area. At this stage, all of the rooms start out with the very same default name, which we then rename, step by step, in the stages that follow. We can run this just for the level we are currently working on, or, if we need more control, we can open the Level Settings button to manage several levels at once. Inside Level Settings, we choose exactly which additional levels we want the tags to appear on. In this example, I am going to select Level 4 and Level 5 from the list. Once we close this dialog and switch over to the All Levels option, the plugin will now apply the action across every single level we just selected here, rather than only the current one on screen. Then we simply click the Place Rooms button once again. And just like that, the room tags are placed automatically on all of the selected levels as well, so we do not have to repeat the process by hand for each floor. And finally, these same controls let us hide all of the tags whenever we want a cleaner view, and then bring them all back again with a single click. The plugin's first step is detecting the rooms with stairs and the hallways. In this field we type how we want the stair room named, for example stairs. In this field we type how we want the hallways named, for example hallway. Comments are also added to these rooms so they can later be recognized in schedules, making it easier to sort and separate the circulation areas in the tables. Here we can type, for example, common, or communication, or whatever suits you. Also, if we check this field, the room name will include the level the room is on, so it will say stairs +1, +2, +3, or wherever it happens to be. When we click this button, we'll see that these spaces have been renamed. This space with the stairs has been renamed, and this hallway has been renamed. As we can see, here it says hallway, and here stairs +2. Once this step is done, the next step is adding tags in front of every apartment's entrance door. Once we've finished the first step of naming the hallways and stairs, we can move on to the second step, adding tags in front of the entrance doors. The entrance doors are tagged by having the plugin recognize the comment written on the entrance door. The apartment entrance doors have a comment like entrance door, or something similar. We'll type that comment here in the window, and that's how the plugin recognizes those doors. I'll now type the internal comment I set for those doors. When we click, we can also set whether we want the tags placed clockwise or counterclockwise. And we can check whether we want the tags on the ground floor, since the ground floor usually has shops and no apartments. So we can choose not to place these tags on the ground floor. And we can choose whether we want these tags hidden after they're created, because some people don't like them showing up in the plans. Here's how it looks when this step is run. As we can see, an apartment number tag is placed in front of every door. So the plugin starts from the ground floor and goes clockwise or counterclockwise, placing the tags. So it started from the first floor with number 1. Since we checked that we don't want it to include the ground floor. Since there were 12 apartments on the first floor, it numbered those apartments from 1 to 12. So now, on this second floor we're looking at. The next apartment is number 13, then 14, then 15, and so on. So it simply placed tags in front of the entrance doors. It didn't check whether it's one apartment or 2. It just detected the door with that comment and places the numbers accordingly. Now, the next step is naming the rooms. So, once the tags are placed in front of all the entrance doors, this part of the plugin now names the rooms based on those tags. Once the tags are placed in front of all the entrance doors, we can begin the part that deals with naming the rooms within the apartments. Here's how it works. In each room we have a piece of furniture and the family that furniture belongs to. In a bedroom we usually have a bed, a double bed. We might have a desk. In the living room we usually have a couch. In the kitchen or dining room we have a kitchen table and kitchen units. And in the bathroom we have a sink, for example. So this plugin works by naming the rooms based on the furniture located in them. In the first field here, we choose the family that's in the room. For example, a couch, or a bed in the bedroom. And we type how we want that room named. For example, the living room has a couch. We just select the family that is that couch. Then the bedroom has a double bed. Then the bathroom has a sink. And the kitchen has, for example, some kitchen unit. If we want to add more spaces and more families, we can do that by adding a new row here. Choosing a new furniture family and adding a new name that suits us. We can also assign several families to the same room name. And we can add whatever names suit us. Also, if the same family appears in 2 different types of rooms, for example, a bed appears both in a child's room and in a bedroom. But, for example, if the bedroom also contains a couch that's also in the living room, we can use this list to define which of the 2 rooms takes priority. So, for example, if we put this row, this family, in first place, that room will be named with the name that's first on the list. So, bedroom. If that bed were also in the living room, or if the bedroom also had this couch, that bedroom wouldn't be named living room, it would be named bedroom. Because it's first on the list and that bedroom also contains the bed. That is, the bed family. So basically, we're just explaining which room comes first and has the highest priority when naming. We can also delete rows by clicking Delete Row, if we don't need that many different rooms. And all of these settings can be exported or imported as a template. So everything we've just entered in the window, we can save as a template, and that template is saved in an internal folder on the computer. We click Enter. Once we've saved the template, later we can just import template from that same folder. And all these settings will be filled into the window. Additional options for this plugin include the ability to automatically detect the entrance hall, the foyer. If it's an empty space and the first space at the entrance to the apartment, that foyer will be automatically detected and named. We may also want the terrace named. The terrace is recognized based on the door that leads out onto it. So this is that door. And it needs to have a comment for the terrace to be recognized. So this door has the comment terrace door. And that comment should be entered here in the window so the terrace is recognized and named as a terrace. So we check this field. And also, if we want some custom names that we don't want to be changed. For example, we can name this space whatever we like, for example foyer. And if we add, for example, a period symbol, say we call it kitchen. Even if this isn't a kitchen and has no furniture. And if we want this space not to change, we'll put a period symbol at the end of that name. So that space won't change its name later, regardless of any furniture in it. And regardless of everything we set in the window. It can be a period symbol, an asterisk, or whatever suits you to end the word with. For example, let's leave a period symbol and check this option. And the final option we can check is to automatically sum the apartment's area. And write that area in front of the apartment entrance. Once we check all of this, and we've filled in all the parameters, we can simply click the Run This Step button. And the plugin will automatically rename all the spaces. As we can see, all the rooms are named according to the families found in them. So this is the bedroom, the terrace, based on the door that leads to the terrace and has the comment we entered in the field. The living room, the kitchen, and the bathroom. Also, each apartment's area is written in front of it. It's written by summing all the spaces within that apartment. The plugin first detects which number is written in front of the apartment, number 24. And it writes the apartment number into the apartment ID of each space, here it says 24. And so for all 4 spaces, together with the terrace. All those spaces are then summed, and the final area is written into the tag in front of the door. This tag doesn't have to be visible at all, if that's what someone prefers. That can simply be done by checking the option Hide Door Tags after creation. And we just run this step again. And the tags will simply be hidden, but they're important for the plugin to work. Once all of our rooms are named and the apartments are arranged, this window gives us the Area Plans button. This one is used for the gross areas. When we click on it, a list opens up showing all of the floors that we had previously selected in the level settings, ready for us to work with. The first thing we need to do here is to go to Update Lines. That button automatically draws the gross outline of the floor, which is simply the outer contour of the building. Then, for the next step, we move over to the sheet, where the plan will be placed. Now, here on the sheet, we go ahead and click on the Place Area Plan button to continue. This brings up the actual area plan view for the floor we have selected, showing the outline we just generated placed neatly onto the sheet. We can go ahead and do exactly the same thing for all of the other floors as well. The important part is that we stay inside the sheet, and as you can see, the outline, the contour of the floor, has now been drawn right here for us. Right next to Area Plans, there is also a button called Place Schedules, just over here. This is the button that creates the tables automatically, floor by floor. Once it is finished, the completed schedule is placed onto the sheet page for that floor. And we will see that, next to each floor, there are 3 more buttons. The first of these buttons is the one called Place Net Area. As the name suggests, Place Net Area extracts the net floor area of the apartments themselves, leaving out everything else. It also groups the rooms together by apartment, so that every apartment ends up with its own subtotal as well as its full, total area. For this table to actually have content, we first need to go through each of these steps in order. The second button is Place Circulation, and this one pulls out the areas of all of the staircases and all of the corridors on the floor, measuring each of them for us automatically. Together, these form the shared, common areas of that particular floor. And the third button is Place Gross. This is the option that pulls out the gross areas, the full outline of the floor, including everything within the building's outer contour. However, for this one to work properly, we first have to come back here into the area plan and run update lines, just as we did at the very beginning. And the important thing to remember, once again, is that whenever we are creating these tables, we always need to be inside the sheet, otherwise the plugin cannot read the outline correctly. So, to sum everything up, net area and circulation both deal with the net figures, the apartments, and the corridors, while gross gives us the gross area of the whole floor. And remember, for the gross option, update lines always has to come first. This is an option that automatically creates the parking tables. When we add a new row to the table, a helpful option appears that lets us choose which family we want to use. In this case, we pick the family that represents the parking spaces. Once we have selected it, we go ahead and click on the Place Parking Tables button. The plugin then opens up and automatically builds a table that lists all of the parking spaces, organized floor by floor, so we get a clear overview of every level without any manual work. The table shows the number of parking spaces and their area, so we no longer have to count or calculate any of it ourselves. And if we go down to the ground floor, we can see that there really are 11 parking spaces there. Garage naming is an option used to name all the rooms inside the garage. That includes the parking spaces themselves, as well as all of the accompanying rooms, such as the staircases, the antechambers by the stairs, and the installation shafts. For this option to work correctly, we first have to complete this initial step, which prepares everything the plugin needs before it can run. Now that I have taken care of that, I will move on and open the garage naming tool. And this is the panel that opens up. In the top right corner there is a Level Settings button, where we define exactly which levels we want the plugin to run on, so that it only affects the floors we actually care about. Next, let us take a look at this main table here. This table is what connects each parking family to the name of the room, so the plugin knows how the two relate to one another. Here, from this drop-down list, we are going to select the parking family that is actually placed inside the garage in our model. For example, let us say that it should be the standard parking family, the ordinary one. We simply pick it from the list, and the plugin will then use it as the reference for everything that follows in this row. Once we have chosen the family, we move over to this field, and here is where we type in the name that the room should receive. In this example, I am simply going to type the word garage. So the underlying logic is this: the plugin checks which parking family happens to sit inside the garage area of the drawing, and works from there. And based on that match, it assigns the correct name to the room. We are also able to add more entries here, in case there happen to be additional families present inside the garage that we want to account for. So when we add this second family as well, and type the name for it right here, for example garage once more, it joins the same list of rules. These rows can be freely rearranged using the small up and down arrows over here, so we can move any rule higher or lower depending on how important it is. And the order really matters, because the plugin reads the rules from top to bottom and applies the very first one that matches. For instance, since this garage has been created here as one single room, the plugin will treat it as a whole when it looks for a match. It will therefore be given the name garage, whereas the parking spaces reserved for people with disabilities, which have been modeled here as a completely separate room, are handled on their own separate line instead, further down in the table. That separate room would instead be given the name Garage 1. Over on this side, we have the checkboxes and comment options that correspond to everything I am currently walking you through in this dialog. This whole section, as I mentioned, is dedicated to the naming of the rooms themselves, and controls how those names are applied across the model. Every room will end up with exactly the name that we have entered here for it. Now let me walk you through the 4 options we can tick on here, one by one from the top. The first option handles the naming of the staircases. This is where the plugin recognizes the staircase rooms inside the garage and gives them their names automatically. The second option handles the antechamber by the stairs, the small entrance area located just in front of each staircase. Here I will type in the label, antechamber by stairs, so each of those spaces is named that way. This next option is used for naming the installation shafts that are located within the staircase cores throughout the building. And if we tick this one as well, you will notice that a dedicated field for the installation shafts now appears right here. This makes sure the plugin does not accidentally rename a room larger than 2 square meters. So here, for any room up to 2 square meters in size, I am going to enter the name installations. And this final option is for naming every other empty room left inside the garage, the ones that do not belong to any family at all. For those, I am simply going to type in the general label, rooms, right over here. And with everything set up, I am now going to go ahead and run the garage naming command. And the rooms themselves have all changed too, taking on exactly the names we defined here in the table. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, make sure to check out our other videos on the channel, and visit archplug.com to explore all the plugins we have available. See you in the next one.